At the beginning of the split, I didn't really think that Origen would be a top team.
I am super proud of everyone in the team because we have made it. We are really good.
It's going to be Fnatic against Fnatic.
The fact that we actually have done it separate ways proved to me that we were the best players. I always thought about this, like it would be so good to actually be facing them in the finals.
I don't know that it's fate and Origen versus Fnatic, but I just know that we will win.
I think it's going to be definitely a close game against Origen.
I feel like we can actually beat them.
It's actually the team that gives us the hardest time.
I think we have a good chance of winning this best of 5, but it's gonna take a lot of work.
It's just crazy. The fact that we're here playing them is already what I dreamt of.
It was my personal goal to at least play the final.
We just want to prove that our team is actually the best.
I think it's gonna be a great final.
We are actually the best 2 teams in Europe right now. What are you going to cheer for?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the European LCS Summer Split Finals. We are live from Stockholm, Sweden, and Yellow Star said it best. Who will you be cheering for? The fans have queued up, sat down, and they're ready for Fnatic to take on Origen in the best of 5.
And if any team is gonna beat Fnatic here in Europe, it will have to be Origen. We see them here walking on stage. Nils in the back, then Mithy, of course. This team, they can't do it.
Yeah, if any team is going to do it, but however, Fnatic, they have Huni, they have Reckless, and they have, most especially they have their captain Yellowstar to lead the front, and it's going to be a damn hard task.
And from the sounds of things, they've got the support of the entire stadium behind us. I'm Quickshot with Crepo and Deficio. We're going to be bringing you all of the action later in the day. Before that, though, we want to wish Pyra all the best. He's currently off ill, and hopefully we'll have a speedy recovery. Before we get to the games, we do need to do some pre-match analysis, so let's head over to the analyst desk, where Shox is joined by a few experts.
Thank you so much, Quickshot. Indeed, I'm Ify Shox supporter here to focus in on today's series alongside James Stress O'Leary and the coaches for H2K and Roccat, Prawley and Yamato Cannon. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me here. Ready to do some good analysis on hopefully the full 5 games. Let's start by taking a look at the bracket though, because yesterday we of course kicked off everything here in Sweden as H2K swept the Unicorns of Love in 3 games. That means Prawley, you guys are now in 3rd place. You got your eye on that championship points and on that possible world spot. What did you think of your team doing yesterday?
I think yesterday was pretty decent performance. I do like the 3-0. That's a really nice side effect. Please. Thank you very much. But really, the games weren't as clean as we wanted to, so it does give us a good direction of what to fix for our next games.
I think, however, one thing that shone in yesterday's series was somebody who had a home field advantage.
You're embarrassing him.
Seems like somebody else has a bit of a home field right now as well, probably. But, you know, Hjanen in yesterday's games here in his home country going absolutely huge. 25.5 KDA in the 3 games as Tristana and Sivir. You know, very strong performance, back to the form that we've seen from Hjanen in the past.
Actually, that was, in the post-game interview, the happiest that I've ever seen Hjanen. I think, how much did it really mean to him yesterday doing that?
Man, I think this whole split he's been just cheesing us and not playing like this, because he could have done this for so long, so he just waited for Sweden so he could do it just to, you know, make his Swedish fans proud.
Well, sadly, on the other side, though, he definitely did. On the other side, though, Vardag did have some good moments, but the UOL, in the end, there was too much to fix, and they couldn't fix it. And with the regional qualifier in sight, Yamato, that might not be a good sign for them.
It's like, first of all, I want to say, I think in this best of 5, I think Vardag's really stepped up. I'm happy for that because we're in Sweden, Vadak stepped up. But it also makes me happy that there's still a lot of sloppiness in Unicorns of Love play because we're going to face them in the regional qualifier.
Yeah, that it will be up for you guys as well. But that does bring us to today's best of 5, where the 21-0 Fnatic will take on Origen for the League Summer Championship and the first European seed at World 2015. Now, later today, the playoff action continues in New York, where it's Counterlogic Gaming versus TSM at Madison Square Garden for the North American LCS crown. I mean, what a fantastic day of games.
Some absolutely massive games today. You've got old rivals, TSM and CLG in North America. You've got old friends here in Europe with some ex-Fnatic members on stage on Origen now going up against Fnatic. I mean, you couldn't write a better fairy tale ending to the summer split.
Definitely.
Like, I would say that Fnatic Origen is going to become the new El Clasico because the old one was SK Fnatic, but the SK is, you know, a bit...
Well, whatever it may be, by today's end, we'll not only have our league champion and #1 seed for Worlds, but we'll also know who racked up the most championship points during the season. And you guys, of course, H2K with that win yesterday. If Fnatic takes the whole thing, that's really good news for you guys. But if they end up losing, so do I have to even ask who you are rooting for?
No, I think it's pretty obvious at this point who I'm rooting for. So let's really, you know, hope for that kind of Fnatic win to happen.
Well, we will see. The analysis will be unbiased, but of course you have your preference. We totally understand that. There's a lot on the line today in the pro play around the world, and we are opening up our experts to you, so you can ask Prolly and Yamato, trust me, all the questions you want at LL Esports with that hashtag #AskTheDesk, and we'll see what you want to know later today. Now, without further ado, it's time to focus in on the match at hand and meet the 2015 European League Championship Series summer finalists.
This is kind of like the old Fnatic against the new Fnatic. The best two teams are facing for the title.
We have been the team to beat during the whole split.
We both know how we play, so it's gonna be a lot about mind game.
The biggest goal here for us is getting first seed.
Not having the first seed would be a bit disappointed.
We have made it. We are really good, and I feel like we can actually beat them.
He has no flash, he has no flash.
For me, when I'm playing Origen, it really feels like I'm being put to test.
I just know that we will win.
We can take easily a game in final.
We're gonna have to come in strong to fight them off.
We have the advantage.
It's going to be Fnatic against Fnatic. What are you going to cheer for?
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the finalists competing today for the European LCS Summer Split Championship, Fnatic and Origen.
There they are, Fnatic and Origen taking the stage. I've got goosebumps already. What a day it's going to be. Well, what a wealth of experience between all these players, but you can't know what you're going to feel in this moment. They must be incredibly excited to take their computers and just play that game.
So much anticipation. This is the matchup a year in the making. Old Fnatic versus new Fnatic. This is going to be an absolutely huge final here for the summer split.
I also think that they come on stage, they're very confident looking. I feel like they really want to brawl and make it happen. How do you guys think this is going to influence them? I mean, you're prepared for that moment, then you step on and you see all these people cheering for you.
What I think is so beautiful, because I think when they separated the ways like 1 year ago, I think they had like this idea in their mind that they might face each other at a stage like this, and then it happens. I think there's been a lot of built-up suspension coming up to this.
Yeah, it's Beautiful,
Yeah,
beautiful thing.
I think this energy between them and then the crowd is actually going to make the best series of League of Legends so far.
5 games to dream. That is a big statement.
That is a big statement. I do have to maybe think about things slightly differently, though. Origen, they are the team that could beat Fnatic. Unfortunately for me today, I don't think they're going to be the team that is going to put the 1 behind 21-1 on Fnatic, unfortunately. But I think it's going to be a close set of games nonetheless.
We'll see what happens. Let's take a look at the lineups for our 2 contenders, starting for Fnatic, who are on the blue side in game 1. Huni, Rainover, Febiven, Reckless, Yellowstar, and their coach, Daylor. They're looking to give them their first loss of the split. Origen with Soaz, Amazing, Xpeke, Niels, Mithy, and their coach, Ledak. Well, you mentioned it already. We have to start by talking about Fnatic 21-0. Fantastic run so far, impressive numbers, but is it fair to say that they have been unchallenged so far in the playoffs?
I think yes. Right now, they're the only team that can consistently come back from a gigantic deficit. And that's really hard to do. You don't see many teams being able to do that or do it multiple times. So the fact that they're able to do it is like, when do you actually win the game against Fnatic?
I think even though the game against UOL was pretty much a stomp, I think they showed immense quality. And I think comparing them to their playoff selves, to their summer split self, I think there's still a massive improvement.
So we also have to look at OG side then, and the story mostly when you go up against Fnatic is what can the other team do? Where are the ins? We got to start by looking at the jungle. Rainover versus Amazing, might that tip the scales?
Yeah, there's an analogy we've been kind of using, is that, if the 5 wealthiest men in Europe were Fnatic, Rainover would be ranked number 5 just because of how every other player has looked so great. But you compare him to the rest of Fnatic and he looks the weakest. You compare him to the rest of the field and he is still one of the top 5 wealthiest. So when you look at this matchup, Rainover might look like a weakness, but he is not. However, Amazing has been very aggressive when it comes to his jungle play in the early game in the last couple of weeks. So that is one area that Origen can actually look to attack potentially.
I think this kind of weakness, though, is shored up by Yellowstar's kind of leadership. They're not really going to be able to always catch him out as long as they're playing as like a full 5-unit team. So although he does have his weaknesses, I would agree, I don't think Amazing is going to be able to capitalize as much as you think.
I feel jungle as a role is the kind of role that kind of gets defined by your teammates. If your teammates are doing well, you're going to look good no matter how bad you play, because it's like, for example, if your team 3 lanes are winning, you roll a dice and any number is good for you, then it's fine, But in a losing position, junglers look worse. But I think Amazing was the key reason why they beat you guys, probably.
That's kind of true. I can't fight that.
So up against Rainover in this one, well, of course, in their semifinal versus UOL, that was a convincing win, so you could say that didn't teach us that much. What it did teach us is that Rainover can play Elise, and he can play it pretty darn well as well. Of course, we saw it yesterday with Lulex. Is it very good for Fnatic that they have that card in their pocket as well coming into this series?
Yeah, Elise is a really, really high early pressure jungler, so the fact that he can at least show that he plays it means now they have to decide, do we pick or do we ban this? If he'd never shown it before, maybe they can roll the dice, maybe he doesn't play it. But showing it at least adds a threat on the team.
For sure. I think the biggest question for me coming into the playoffs is is Lulex and Rainover going to pick up the new champions? And that question has been answered with the correct answer.
Definitely. Let's look at the mid lane, though, as well. Febiven versus Xpeke, because Yamato, we have been talking about this a lot, that you feel that Xpeke is kind of the weak link on that team.
Yeah, he's kind of the Rainover of Origen, of course. I feel that Xpeke, I'm kind of hoping that against HK he was kind of hiding what he's going to show because he was picking up that Ahri. And Ahri, to me, even though Ahri has had a good run during the playoffs, so it kind of contradicts what I'm going to say now, but I think Ahri is one of the weaker champions right now in the meta. And I think the biggest advantage Febiven has coming into this is the fact that he plays the Emperor of Shurima, Azir.
Can you say that again?
Emperor of Shurima.
That was great, yeah.
I mean, I do agree Febi probably has a better Azir, but Febi hasn't really shown Ahri recently, and he hasn't shown Fizz yet, which in my opinion is a terrifying mid lane to play against. So by Peke being able to bring that out, I think that kind of digs him out of the ditch you're digging him.
Like Febiven's the kind of guy that kind of sticks to a few champions. That's why I'm hoping Peke is going to bring out something new here.
I hope so, but if there's one player, unfortunately, that over the summer split didn't show us too much that was new, that's Peke. He showed us a lot of Vladimir, which isn't around anymore. We looked at his recent champions, only a couple shared between the two of them. I wonder whether Xpeke will go to kind of like the later scaling Orianas that we have seen it just depends what the team wants to play. But I do think that Xpeke, his experience, is what could allow him to settle himself into that mid lane matchup and maybe give Forbidden a bigger run for his money than people would expect.
Yeah, it's all the factors we have to keep into account if we look at a game like this. And one of the people that will have that experience, but also the rush of playing here, is Reckless in that bottom lane. And it'll be very important for them, that bottom lane matchup. You guys also think that there might be... You gotta give him his moment. There might also be a big opportunity, though, for OG to make something happen in that bottom lane.
Yeah, I definitely think OG is going to be the aggressors in this right now. So it's really up to them if they can keep an eye on the map, know where Rainover is, and play aggressive when they need it. And Fnatic side, I think they're going to be the ones on the back foot the whole game. I think they're going to be trying to survive the 2v2, and I think they're going to really have to push into the 2v1 meta for them.
Go ahead.
No, after you, Yamato.
Okay. Like, I just wanted to point out the fact that I think the biggest advantage Origen has is the fact that they can both play around the top lane and the bot lane. We've seen Fnatic mostly play around Huni and transition that pressure, and I feel like Origen can do both things.
I think, though, when you look at Origen specifically in a lane swap, we just saw the stats up there about how good Fnatic are in a lane swap. One thing Origen specifically do with Soaz is they don't give him the farm. After the first tower dies, Origen actually punish Soaz quite a lot, don't allow him to get farm, and then rely on bringing Amazing to the top lane or teleporting with Soaz. So that's one area that Fnatic can exploit from Origen, is if Origen don't get Soaz back into the game with a play, that's an area that Origen could end up struggling.
Yeah, let's talk about that matchup with Huni versus Soaz there. Their most recently played picks. A wealth of experience, especially on the side of Soaz. Who are you calling for?
Of course, Huni is the obvious favorite here, because to me, Huni is one of the best top lanes in the world. But I feel like in terms of champion pool, I feel like Soaz has so much experience that he's not going to really get destroyed, as we've seen multiple times Huni has done to a lot of top laners in the split.
One on your team also, sadly enough. Well, we will see what happens in that one. Now, for now, though, before things get underway, we're going to step on stage and speak with the man that led Fnatic to yet another LCS final and Worlds 2015, Yellowstar.
Thank you very much, Sharks. I'm here with Bor Yellowstar Kim before he heads on stage for his 6th LCS final and for his amazing contribution to Fnatic, leading them to 21 straight victories. He has been awarded with the MVP, the most valuable player here in the European LCS for the summer split. Now, first off, once again, you're at the top of Europe alongside Origen. You were the man who led Fnatic here. How does getting this award feel to you?
I always do the analogy to when you harvest something, you know, and you take care of it every day with a constant hard work, you will finally deserve something in the end. And this is the proof of the result. And I'm really happy about that. But not only for me, I think for my teammates as well.
Very humble, I like it. But I've got to talk about Worlds because you have not missed a single World so far. How do you remain so good for so long in so many years?
I don't know. I'm always surrounded by my teammates. Without them, I wouldn't be able to do so. And just keep the work, and that's how you do it.
Yeah, a good work ethic, very good for other players aspiring to be like yourself, Yellowstar. And now you only have a couple minutes left before you face Origen here. Spoke to Reckless yesterday, doesn't think it will be the 24-0 split. What's your take on that? How's this series going to go?
I don't know, you guys will see, but I think it will be a close series and with very good games. So let's go.
Well, let's go. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. Congratulations once again on the award. We're going to throw it back to the analyst desk, so take a look at Fnatic by the numbers.
Why, thank you so much, Pulse. Always fantastic to hear for Yellowstar. He's going to be joining his team to get ready for Game 1. But let's look at that team, because it's almost become common that we say, yeah, they won again, 21-0, but we have to look at the numbers and how good they are doing. They're also voted the All-Pro team, all of them, including their coach from the panel of experts and teams themselves. But it's almost amazing. They are making history.
They are, as Paul said, Fnatic by the numbers. Let's take a look at some of those numbers. The last loss for Fnatic was against SK Telecom T1 in Game 5 of the Mid-Season Invitational. This is the 6th LCS final for the franchise. They've only lost in 1. Coming into this weekend, Fnatic have some record-breaking numbers because of their clean play and great macro-level strategy. They had 3 of the 5 top player KDAs in the summer split. They had the most towers, they had the most barons, they had the highest average gold lead at 10 minutes,
I want to stop you right there. I feel like we can keep going with the stats, but I do want to know from the coaches as well who've played against him, what is it outside of the numbers that makes Fnatic rise above and beyond?
the game's only done when you kill the Nexus against Fnatic. You can have that gigantic gold lane and it really doesn't matter. And that's kind of Fnatic's thing, is like you're literally never going to end this game until the very last second.
I feel that Fnatic is an example for every team in the West. They're doing it correct. And I feel the thing that impresses me the most about Fnatic, even though they've kept winning, they didn't really hit a brick wall. Some of the teams, they have a win streak, hit a brick wall, and then they kind of stop improving. Fnatic has kept improving all the time, even though they've kept winning.
Yeah, Fnatic looking incredibly scary. That means OG, they have their work cut out for them. But if anyone can upset the #1 team in Europe, it is OG. Well, it's time to get this final underway. So we're going to send it over to the guys at the caster desk.
Thank you very much, Sharks. Fnatic against Origen in a best-of-5. For Origen, they can get to the World Championships 2 ways. Beat Fnatic here today, or win the regional qualifier by playing 2 best-of-5s. We're going to get and pick some bans. 5.14, we're still on the same patch. What are the priority picks for both of these teams?
We saw Fnatic in the semi-final focus Power Viva versus Unicorns of. They can look to do the same versus Xpeke here. Victor ban is very likely, because we haven't seen that Azir pick. We saw Febiven play, which is going to be a big deal in this matchup.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of forgot about Azir. Once he got nerfed, he lost the knockup. Obviously, the Shurima Shuffle isn't coming out anymore. But now with the new build, just that attack speed coming out of Nashor's and just does so much damage, especially in the late game. And when you play Fnatic, you can bet your money that the match will eventually end up in the late game. So Azir could be yet another comeback mechanic, and we've seen Xpeke. He's been spamming it in solo queue with mixed results.
And now we see very standard things still in Europe on 5.14. A lot of AD carry focused early on in the pick and ban phase, Kalista and Sivir. So Fnatic not opting to first pick it for Reckless, even though we have seen that a few times, and 3 AD carry bans so far.
Yeah, we might actually see a 4th coming out. Fnatic has banned Vayne in the past. Neil's known to be a bit of a Vayne player at times, so perhaps Fnatic takes their approach, what they did against Unicorns of Love. They said, okay, we find your weak spot, we ban 3 picks there. Might do the same here for Niels and force him, to adapt or die.
17 years old, rookie of the split. Niels on the side of Origen here will have to find something new to play then if Fnatic keeps putting focus on him. Azir, we talked about it, how Febiven plays it. Peke only been practicing.
One thing I do want to mention, Lulu is a champion that has shown to be popular for both of these teams and is available.
Keep thinking about Victor and Fizz as this draft goes on. Very important picks. You might see early pressure on the Victor and see if Xpeke can play the Fizz well enough, to match that lane and just survive, or whether he get pushed in over and over and just Victor late game team fights. For Fnatic's style, fantastic.
And Fnatic now target what was the blind pick for Xpeke in the semi-final, the Ahri. That does tell me Victor is going to be the first pick for Fnatic. There are obviously still things like Lulu open, Shen has been a strong pick for them, but not necessarily a first pick. And then, of course, Elise in the jungle. Both guys showed it.
Yeah, we have to remember that Rumble is shared between Soaz and Huni as well. Both fantastic Rumble players. So, a lot of options here. We'll have to see who do they take first and what do they want to react with.
When Nazir is banned and Ahri is banned, I mean, Victor is just such a contested pick now. His value goes really, really high up as like the safe mid lane pick who can do almost everything you want. We know Fnatic, they love to scale into the late game and have these strong team fights. He would fit in really nicely there.
And that Victor, 5 games played for Febiven, his second most popular Rumble, as you talked about a few minutes ago. The most played champion for both Soaz and Fnatic, with Huni across the split, but it will be the early Elise.
Yeah, the analyst has touched upon this already. The matchup in the jungle, if you want to take down Fnatic, you got to hit him in the foundation. Reignover is always ready to help his lane, whether he's shadowing, counter-ganking, or just straight up ganking for his lanes. Being able to have a favorable jungle matchup is obviously going to go a long way to targeting Reignover. If he picks Elise, there's almost none, if any, stronger junglers in the early game. So that's a good approach by Fnatic, covering their grounds in that regard.
And what we saw Amazing do beforehand, if Elise was gone, he would go for Gragas or Rek'Sai, the most standard junglers for him, especially the Gragas is really good when it comes to get that late game scaling as a jungler. But this again, we quickly highlight the Elise. We didn't know if teams want to first pick it. Now we get to see the priority from Fnatic.
And we were talking about the Victor pick, and one possible reason that Origen simply doesn't want to lock it in yet is because they want to hold on to that counter pick advantage. They are red sided. They want to hold the counter pick for Xpeke, 5th pick, try to neutralize the mid lane that way, possibly. And we have a Gangplank locked in. That was exciting yesterday, does so much damage, and I want to see if Huni can handle it.
And let me just explain this last ban then from Origen, because this pick and the ban, they fit together. Riven, we have seen it from Huni a few times. We've seen how strong Fnatic is if they get him rolling on a champion like Riven, but she is also one of the only counter matchups to Gangplank up in that top lane because you can dance around the barrels so effectively. That has now been removed, so suddenly Gangplank is a safe option to early pick.
With that Gangplank in mind, I want to know how this game plays out if Origen lane swap, because they actually have a lane swap strategy that differs a little bit from other teams in the way that they don't bounce back their wave after the first initial tower, but then they give the farm to Niels instead of Soaz. Soaz with a very farm-reliant champion on Gangplank. We'll have to see if Origen sticks to that plan, but we can get to that once we get into the game.
Very tempered pick and ban from both of the teams, feeling each other out, and a stark contrast from yesterday where clear weaknesses were exploited. Yellowstar's going to get his hands on Alistair, his most played champion, 8 times the split, and the victor that we were anticipating. Also safe blind pick.
And Alistair is going to be a very important pick for both teams, honestly. If we follow how we just mentioned, Origen is a team that prefers the standard lane, so that's how they can beat Fnatic, we feel, in the early game. Alistair, if there is a lane swap from Fnatic, enables that roam from Yellowstar, which is so effective.
Yeah, and I really want to see this Braum pick come out from Origen. I think it's fantastic in the sense that it can stop a lot of Victor's damage, or at least redirect it to the support. Because Fnatic right now, they have so much control in terms of roams, making picks, and just zone control in teamfights. There's almost no other support you could take that can match or deal with that. So Braum, fantastic pick here for Origen. And then as we pointed out earlier, standard jungler that Amazing goes back onto, still has early pressure on the Gragas. Body slam flash can make sick plays. We saw I Will Dominate over in NA with a beautiful flash prediction. So hopefully Amazing was watching that.
That's the thing about the jungle matchup. Yamato Cannon quickly talked about it. Yes, you might have a weaker jungler in the early game, but if your team plays around that, you can survive it. You can get to mid game, get to late game, let that Cinderhulk stack up and then get into team fights where Elise, her impact, is basically kind of land a cocoon on someone and then just be a little bit of a tank. Nothing compared to Gragas in the later stages. So Origen running very good scaling if you look at Soaz, and of course Amazing. Then we got that mid-game spike from Niels we see so often for Origen.
Fnatic will round out their team composition. It is the Lulu that we mentioned earlier, and Reckless going to go to one of the last remaining somewhat scaling AD carries.
Yeah, when Fnatic used to play this style, they often locked in Janna to protect their carries, and they basically played around Reckless, reminiscent of that games that he had on Kalista, where Lulu would just speed him forward, keep him alive, and he would be at the front dealing so much damage. Now replaces that with a Tristana. I think fantastic carry really hard, but hard to play into the Braum.
And I absolutely love Twisted Fate here for Origen if they do lock it in, because this is almost exactly what Origen decided to do versus Fnatic in Week 7, the last time they played each other. If you guys don't remember, Origen had a 7,000 gold lead in that game until they lost a bad team fight. Suddenly the game snowballed out of control in favor of Fnatic. But the Twisted Fate, when you already have the split pushing threat of a Gangplank and a safe AD carry in the Corki, you can sit in a side lane, that could have worked really well, but they decided to swap it up instead and run poke.
So Varus locked in the mid lane. Both compositions are rounded out, so we can start discussing what they do well, what they do poorly. If you look at Origen, obviously oriented around double poke. You can also cut off the escapes with the Gangplank ulti. If Origen get a small lead and they can start sieging, it will be absolutely brutal. The zone control from the barrels from GP, once you hit those later levels, the double poke coming out of the Triforce Spike on Corki later on Varus can be absolutely destructing for Fnatic, who have to engage this by the merit of just a Cocoon or a Flash Pulverize.
And that's why it makes a lot of sense for Origen to swap it up. There are two good options. Do you want to go Twisted Fate for the globals? Do you want more poke? Go for the Varus pick, which has been good for Pekka. Gangplank adds in even more value, also in poke if he's with the team. The barrel mechanic to zone you off towers, or again, if you want to run at the Gangplank, well, there's a barrel in your face, crits you for about 1,000 in the late game, and suddenly that fight is basically over. So a lot of ways now for Origen, they can 1-4, they can even group all 5 members together around objectives and land that poke, which is going to be super effective. Fnatic gotta make sure they don't fall behind.
Well, Fnatic were able to bounce back from falling behind the last time these two teams met.
Fair enough.
And I remember Reckless yesterday talking about the matchup. He said, we don't care that we're 21-0. We're only 2-0 against Origen. That's what he was feeling. You've got the team comps on your screen in just a moment. The crowd, we know who you're voting for, but jump on Twitter and let us know if you think Origen or Fnatic will be picking up Game 1 in this best of 5 live from Stockholm, Sweden, where the winner will guarantee the first place seed going to the World Championships.
And I just want to highlight the beauty of this Braum pick one more time. It is, for me, a poke facilitator, which means if you siege and Braum connects Q, it will become so easy for Varus, Corki, even Gangplank to follow up with the poke. You don't even need to proc Winter's Bite or Concussive Blows. Just can get the slow. So if Origen can group up, they'll do mean things to Fnatic. However, Fnatic is fantastic at playing around that. They easily identify the win conditions of other teams' compositions and play around it. That has been their strength throughout the split.
And we feel, and we've discussed, if Origen can get those standard lanes, that might be a way into it. Let's see how Fnatic play around it. Neither team going for deep vision at all, and a very defensive start.
The thing for Origen right here is you want to make sure that Gangplank gets a free lane. You want to make sure he can farm up. He scales so well into late game, and he can turn almost any lane into a farm lane. And then because we know how strong he is late on, it is in favor of him and his team. But at the same time, if it is a lane swap, Braum is a fantastic early roamer as well with the skirmish potential, so they can match the Alistar. There are good ways for Origen to play out this early game, and that's also why we don't see them take any risk and like invade into the jungle of Fnatic and try and play some wards early on. And obviously Soaz can start a camp with his barrel.
This is something we saw yesterday as well from Vizicachi, rather, Odawame, the Gangplank, and helping clear the farm with that GP passive, get the barrel stacks. We do see Meals and Mythy actually moving their way top, so despite the pros of being in standard lanes, it looks like Origen may initiate this themselves.
So they're going to swell up top. We didn't get to see the pathing Mythy, or at least didn't notice it if you walked by the ward. He was pinged out. Oh no, so he was pinged. So he walked from the north, which means he was spotted, but Fnatic is fine as well, taking the 2v1 in this case.
So what Mythy and Niels are doing right now, they're guaranteeing that the map gets evenly divided. Left half to Origen, right half to Fnatic. That's why they're invading the jungle. They want to spot out if Rainover was doing a camp. Huni is now just going to verify that they're not doing a camp, counting how many jungle camps are up, just keeping track of information. Huni will start double jungling. However, Soaz and Amazing have already initiated the late swap, so they are one move ahead.
Huni very clearly expected standard lanes, because he was hiding up here in the top. He wasn't ready to double jungle in case... What we see from teams is if you have no clue where the lanes are going, you just start double jungling from the get-go. You take the 2 camps, you share, you get level 2 each, and then you TP top in the 1-on-1 lane or in the 1v2 lane if that is the case. As a top laner, he was sitting top here, so he's been set behind. Soaz can return to lane. He should get this tower, and of course the gold from it later on.
So early advantage to Origen. Initiating the swap and catching Fnatic a little unawares. The tower's being focused. We do see that both Rainover and Huni have made their way down towards the bottom half, and we will see that tower pressured out shortly.
Yeah, that tower should go down a little slower on Fnatic's side because, of course, they were a little slow to the lane swap party. I just want to see where this wave goes. Is Origen going to do what they did in the previous games? Bounce the wave to Niels, get him fed, make him the carry, or are they going to give the Gangplank the farm he so desperately needs?
The difference here is that when Origen gave the farm to Niels, it was Origen on the bottom side of the map because it was H2K running away from them, always swapping top side. And then Soaz had to return to the top lane, and he always had that wave pushing against him, and he needed help to push it out. For now, he's there with Niels. Niels is trying to stay
sharing the gold.
Sharing at least. Okay, so that's
sharing
a step
is
forward
pairing
for Soaz. Yeah, before he got nothing, now he gets half.
That is a good point about playing at the bottom side of the map. Fnatic, or Origen rather, will swap their bot lane back to the bottom side of the map so they at least can contest dragons and early objectives. Like looking to do the same. Huni, his wave's bouncing toward him.
And Brexit is in that annoying situation now, where if you do give the tower over to AD carry, you don't have enough gold for pickaxe. So when you do recall, you have to like look at the shop and be like, I really want that pickaxe, I can't afford it, so you get a second Doran's blade, which is of course not as effective. The Corki, itemizing towards the Trinity Force is so easy. Their early components are very effective.
Much more comfortable power spike, as it were. We did catch a brief glimpse there of both Febiven and Peck in the mid lane, both running Flash Cleanse. Both got hard CC and great wave clear, expecting that just to be a farm fest unless somebody roams or gets involved from the jungle.
Now after this lane swap initiated by Origen, we started the day by saying how Fnatic were better in lane swap, but if you look at the farm, Huni is 14 CS behind. This compadre Soaz right there, and usually the way Huni comes back from a deficit is making a fantastic teleport play. So you have to keep in mind, what is he going to do with that TP? Yellowstar looking to maybe even flash over the Raptors, and they have their eyes set on expected combo. He flashed!
Wow. Yellowstar flashed from the Raptor camp and does get Peke's flash down. While we see Niels in the bottom lane, he's shoving out the tower with the help of Amazing. And if you look up top, Soaz is defending while Reckless is getting in his face.
And if you wonder why Huni left that bottom lane, instead of taking the wave, push back towards him, get some farm, get some experience, because Fnatic was so delayed with that level 1 start at taking down the tower, OG could swap down to the bottom lane, push this wave in, and if Huni stayed, they would just 4-man tower dive him. Source would just TP down once he saw 2-man top. No flash on Pekka.
But he has cleanse.
He's going to sidestep the cocoon. The laser's going to connect. Teleport from Soaz. Is he going to cancel it? No, he's going to arrive. So, Summoner Spell used, and with the numbers advantage and the tower secured, Origen are now going to set themselves up on the Dragon.
Wanted to use it to get down towards the bottom side anyway. Needs to make sure he can catch the wave once it hits up top though. So TP advantage for Fnatic at least after 2 ganks in a row against Pekka. This is one of the reasons Varus as a pick has fallen a little bit out of the meta again here in Europe. Teams have figured out we can early camp him and then he's very easy to shut down.
Yeah, beautiful escapes by Expected there. Sidestepping. That Dragon's really hard to kill in the early game but goes uncontested. Soaz managed to freeze the wave too, so he's safely firing. He's going to extend that lead, or at least keep it the same number of CS compared to Huni. Huni now has teleport advantage, but at the same time, he wants to keep farming. It's a very tough choice for him.
This again, the key thing about how Origen was a step ahead of Fnatic, because they got to now kill a second tower and once again bounce the wave. Make sure the tower killed all your own minions. When the next one followed, they push down towards you. So they keep getting lanes for Soaz where you can pick up more farm than Huni.
And it's paying off. Still 15 CS in the lead as we're getting closer to 7 minutes. Rekkles does have a small lead over Niels, but I think Fnatic are hoping this will standardize out. You can see Rekkles playing that Tristana only a couple times versus Niels Corki, but he's picked up an Avarice Blade and 2 Dorans. That's going to take a long time before he gets that BF sword.
It does mean that his build becomes very gold efficient. That early Avarice Blade is going to stack up and just generate so much gold for him. He's also looking to go for a quick 3rd item power spike with the Last Whisper, so he's going to go Infinity Edge, Static Shift into Last Whisper, and he's going to spike very early. He's not going to hit that super strong part where you have IHPD, but he'll get the armor pen a lot earlier.
So the later part will come earlier, but the earlier part will come later.
Yeah. Something like that.
Definitely not very strong at the moment, but if you're on 80 carry and you're forced to go back anyway because you keep swapping the lanes around, gotta use the gold you have. Now, 2 members are defending from Origen. This can be a risky dive from Fnatic, but they do have teleport. Mythy showing himself might stop this dive because now 3 guys are here.
It is incredibly hard to dive anybody that has assistance from a Braum because he can simply redirect the damage with his shield. Also concussive blows, incredibly hard to play around because 1 tag is all you need and then teammate can proc that stun for you. Fnatic wisely back off. Yellowstar is very angry about this.
Very good read though for Mythy. Looking at the map saying, okay, Huni's not a threat, so we can easily push his wave out with Niels on his own. We have a few early wards on the top side, so we didn't spot Reignover either. Okay, where can they be on the map? Bottom side is being shoved up. Rekkles keeps playing aggressive. There can only be one place, and he recalls and returns and stops the dive.
High-level strategy is a process of elimination, just the same way you do it with deep warding on jungle camps. Good read here by Origen. But still, it's so hard to get a lead against Fnatic. Gold-wise, 200 golden difference right now. Rekkles jumps forward, and this is what they want to do. They want to speed him up every time he gets there, put the E on top of him, and then proxy Q from Huni. If he's behind, he can still offer utility.
And if you take a look at Fnatic's playstyle, considering they have Alistar, considering they have Elise, 2 of arguably the best tower diving champions in the game, Yellowstar's tried twice to tower dive somebody from Origen and has been unable to make it work. If you go back to semifinals, when they were tower diving Unicorns of Blood, it was excellently played. So Fnatic making it very clear how they want to try build advantages in the early game.
But also Origen showing that they are better than the Unicorns of Love at reading where's the dive gonna happen. When there's only 1 lane pushing, it's very easy as a team to predict where would they put the pressure, obviously where the wave is coming in. Standard build though from Huni, he's realizing I'm not getting any farm. He's going for full cooldown reduction on the Lulu for Real Nomicon as the first item with the boots, and he's just going to beat the utility bot in the top.
While Fnatic hasn't found any merit in their dives, they just put enough pressure to slow down Amazing in his jungle. Look at the CS difference here, 14. Reignover is now 500 gold ahead already of his opponent, Amazing.
Look at the same thing again though. Fnatic, they send 3 guys top. They keep moving Yellowstar and Reignover with where Rekkles is pushing the waves. But you see at the same time, Mythy now returned to the tower. You see Amazing was moving topside. So both teams are basically saying, we know where we want to dive, and the other team saying, we know where you want to dive. And they're both meeting each other every single time, and therefore nothing happens from it.
And of course, when both teams are reading the same book, it means they're even in everything except dragons. Gold is even, towers is even. CS relatively even, despite the fact that Huni's down. He's currently 500 gold behind Soaz in that top lane. And there's, of course, the lane swap gold differences that we've come to expect as averages. This game is by no means any average game.
Yeah, well, the team gold is even. It is funneled into different players. Reignover has a lead over Amazing. Huni's obviously behind Soaz. We'll have to see once the teams start playing through their strengths, once the grouping comes out from Origen, if they can siege on Fnatic and punish them, deny that wave clear from the Victor E with the Braum shield. If they can do that, then they can start getting additional towers, global gold, and perhaps manage the lead they so desperately need to take a game of Fnatic.
And that's why I really agree with the approach Origen is taking of let's defend the lane Nils is in and make sure he cannot get killed by Fnatic, because it means Soaz is one-on-one in another lane. He keeps getting farmed a lot more than Huni, and you want to make sure, even though he wasn't a lane stop, that he hits that 24th fairly early, because that mid game is your time to group. That's where you can poke down with barrels, Varus Q, rockets from the Corki, and Fnatic's wave clear is going to be obviously the Victor sitting in there in that mid lane, but if he takes a bit of poke damage, he's forced away from the tower.
And if we go later in the game, who's going to deal with Soaz once this settles into a 4-1? Huni is desperately far behind. The only person that can really do it is Reckless. Huni being targeted right now. Q from Braum comes in. He has to flash.
And
doesn't flash.
Not going to be able to.
Greedy play, saving his flash here.
It's not the first time we've seen that.
We've seen that a few times here. Teams like to focus him. He wants to save that summoner. He likes to overextend a little bit for farm. Not in this case, of course. He was sitting very far back, but beautiful setup from Origen, doing exactly what Fnatic tried to do against them twice. They do it now once against Fnatic, and it works.
And you can see Huni again, the focus. Huni falling further behind Soaz.
And he went for a full cooldown reduction build. Doesn't matter though, if you can't even cast your abilities once, CDR is going to be useless. Leaves him with very little HP. He's incredibly far behind, especially. We've been tracking gold, we've been tracking pushes, but what we haven't been tracking is experience. Huni's only level 6, and Soaz is already well up towards level 9, so he's 8.5 right now. Huni, I'm just going to double check here, is roughly 6.2, so more than a 2-level lead on Soaz. It'll be incredibly hard to stop the split push coming out later. The remaining part of Origen, they can safely push in any lane that they want, just 4-man. They have disengage and poke.
Yeah, we need to see Origen keep the 4-1 going because of how strong Soaz is. Also add in the fact his ulti, of course, is global. He can assist with it. Normally, Gangplank is fantastic at setting up dragons, but because he's so strong, let him apply pressure then. He can always TP down and join in case a fight breaks out.
And we do see that Reynov is going for the AP build. Runeglaive into Sork Shoes, and it's Fnatic that have actually started themselves off the dragon. Origen are nearby, and there are teleports out.
Forcing a fight on a dragon, but stolen by Amazing. You hide your weaknesses. Huni still has his flash. Rainover goes up.
Fnatic's trying to get away. No stunts coming in yet. Glacial Fissure comes out. Cannon Barrage down. Origen able to secure the second dragon.
So Origen gets the dragon. Fnatic started it. They knew there could be a fight. Soaz as well joined in even after the dragon was gone. And that means Huni can return to that top lane, try and catch a little bit of farm for himself. Both top laners use the TP.
That is usually how you hide your weaknesses. It is by grouping, and if you're overall even on gold, obviously getting a weak member to the team, trying to make a play that way is what you want to do as Fnatic. However, Origen were ready for it, and they managed to steal that crucial dragon. They're already at 2 right now. Can definitely speed up for a potential 5-dragon win condition.
I would love to see an Origen be ready to take the fight even before dragon went down, even though they managed to steal it, because at this point they were so far they had 24s completed for Nils as well.
And the problem was they were so afraid of losing their mid lane tower. They really want that tower up to have the safety behind Xpeke to make it incredibly hard to dive and punish him, so he can keep ramping up. So Pekka was still cleaning a wave in the mid lane, allowed Fnatic to rotate in, but then OG decided to pincer from both angles. Fnatic had to flash defensively over the wall, so a lot of pressure coming out of Origen.
Seeing slightly less pressure on the inner turrets, Origen have now grouped up middle. Using the advantage they have built up, Featherman's wave clear completely nullified by Miffy, and it looks like Origen, they're going to try focus this tower down. There's a 2-man stun into a 2-man knocker. Yellowstar is going to get out. Fnatic have got their first kill. They're trying to run down Pekka, but crucially, that tower stays alive, if only for a few more seconds.
Origen, the minions died here. They stayed just to finish it, but they can keep doing this. There's no TP in Source. That's one of the reasons he's joining the team. We see the zone control of the barrels. Also, Gangplank passive works on towers, so taking them down is going to go so fast with double Trinity Force and the Gangplank here. Huni doing a few rockets.
Yeah, we all held our breath for that next piercing arrow. Didn't come through, and Origen, 2 waves later, secure their 3rd tower. They extend the gold lead ever so slightly, and if we go back to the Week 7 matchup between these two teams, it stayed very even for a very long period of time before Origen punished a Fnatic mistake.
Something you have to keep in mind for this matchup is cooldown management. Unbreakable right now is on a 16-second cooldown. Victor can launch a laser every 6 or 7 seconds, so while if you can deny one type of wave clear, you have to be ready for the second shot, because that's what they got caught off guard. Origen tried to finish the tower, but then suddenly Victor damage comes out and you see what they can do to bunched up opponents. So Origen will definitely have to spread out, calmly poke. Don't do what H2K did yesterday. Don't get greedy. Slowly play out your lead, play to your strengths, and hide your weaknesses.
And these cooldowns is just one of the reasons I love the Victor build Febiven is going for, where you don't waste time on building Morel and Nomicon. You get the CDR boots instead, and then you start building towards your late game items, the death cap. Lute and Zeko, potentially, we have seen the movement speed build a few times on Victor's versus Poke, where you get Lute and Zeko now, and you get so much extra mobility to dodge around these abilities and get in range of the backline. Because if you look at Origen's side here, get to Varus or Corki, Victor can one-shot him.
Yeah, so Victor could, in theory, one-shot them, but I think Soaz, Niels, and Peke might want to share shots. 2 Trinity Forces completed. You've seen the Brutalize and the Manny continue to stack. Soaz is 75 CS ahead of Huni. And let that speak for itself. Huni right now still trying to catch up in levels. Level 8 versus level 10. And Soaz, I think, is very, very close to upgrading his Cannon Barrage. 400 Silver Serpents. We'll see what he decides to upgrade first. It won't be too long before he can.
After looking at a little bit more Gangplank, after the games yesterday, talked to Wonderware, the top laner for Team Bigness EU, who just qualified for the EU LCS. A lot of Gangplank players also prefer getting more damage on that old team to start. Febiven, though, taking a lot of damage here.
Could use the cleanse to get away.
Hesitation on Mythi. That ultimate could have connected and forced a flash on Febiven, but just was a little bit too slow. But it was enough to zone him up the tower. He has Unbreakable.
Ooh.
Look at the damage.
Rainover eats 1 barrel and arrow and is chunked to 20%.
This is all Origen needs to do. Push 1 member off the tower. You don't even have to kill him. You're looking for towers instead. So they force them away. They take another one. But the fact that all 3 outer turrets gone allows them to very easily ward the flanks, and there's no real threat from Fnatic in terms of engaging, other than Yellowstar, really.
While all of the threat is on the side of Origen, Barrel is set up, Reckless is poked out. Origen are going to grab their 5th tower, basically uncontested. And if there were any non-believers in the audience, they have been stunned. Origen have shown up, and they started the lane swap that started the slow grind to a 2,000 gold lead, a tower lead, and all of the map pressure.
That little change for Origen in the last pick when they were thinking about the Twisted Fate, said, wait a minute, Fnatic has barely any form of engage right here. We can very easily run a poke composition, and we can just slowly but surely force them off towers, take them down, and get a gold lead from it. Very, very smart pick and ban phase. Still, the fact we get Gangplank as a blind pick with the Riven ban, that enables the whole thing because he just works so well in these poke compositions. 1-4, 5-man together, he can do all the things.
All the things and all the things well with a 60 CS advantage. We did see some posturing around the previous Dragon. 30 seconds before it spawns, Origen have got all of the deep vision to play with and a teleport. Cannon Barrage will be up soon as well.
Now, Origen are in that phase of the game where H2K yesterday was getting a little greedy. They got a lot of outer turrets, but it's kind of too early to start thinking about Baron. Yes, 20 minutes Baron spawns, but it's incredibly hard to take that down efficiently because Baron does so much damage. Teams can come at you and just kill you when you're doing it. So what they need to do is just slow down, inch forward the vision, and slowly set up for the next Dragon, and then completely choke Fnatic out of their own jungle, steal away their buffs, their raptors, their wolves, and then eventually move towards the Baron.
Beauty of poke compositions. They really want the Baron buff because it makes them insanely overpowered. If you can barely clear the minions, what can you do against the amount of poke? But they're very weak at taking the Baron because they rarely have anyone who can really tank it, and you don't want to get caught in a Baron pit.
And we see the 3rd Dragon being taken by Origen, and just, to touch on that point, that's why when poke meta was rampant, we saw poke versus poke. It was very often these weird standups around the Baron pit. Both really wanted, but neither could secure it. So we'll need to see if Origen have learned from that. They do the right thing though. They steal away red buff, leave some deep vision. Likely see Niels rotate to the mid lane or even top later, and then get some more deep vision on the left side of the map. Slowly setting up that 4-1 Baron control with Soaz split pushing.
This is a thing we have seen this game as well, and something Origen has shown all split long. Their ability to maximize farm on 3 carries, 1-3-1 setups. Now we need to see what happens in the mid lane, because Reckless is nearby with the rest of Fnatic. They're going in!
They've caught Peke! Peke used his flash already, and he's down! Fnatic have got a kill! Soaz is teleported rotating in, and here comes Gangplank. The Pirate instantly has to run away. Too risky, puts down a powder kick, chains them together. That's gonna hurt and slow Yellowstar. Wild Growth is still available for Huni. So Fnatic, they get themselves a kill, and they're trying to set up a siege on this middle outer turret, but Rainover's been hit. The powder kick chains are great from Soaz. Flash body slam, I think that was short. Knocked Reckless back before he jumps out. You can't keep him down with the rocket jump. The wave is cleared and Origen hold on to their tower.
Yeah, really good jump there by Reckless. He waits for the cast to explode, then he jumps out afterwards, channeling that jump perfectly. I just want to replay and just keep your eyes on where Yellowstar is on the map once we get the mini-map back. He ran over Flash Cocoons, I believe, to force Expected Flash up in the top onto your screen. Flash Spell Rise, knockup. That's what dreams are made of for Fnatic. That's what they need to come back, and somehow they always find a way.
Peke had cleanse ready though. You could get that cocoon in your face, cleanse it, and save your flash. Anyway, though, it's a beautiful setup from Fnatic because they had the vision control on the top side. Origen put all the focus on Dragon, the bottom half of the map, so they couldn't spot the flank. Every other time they've been grouping, they have wards on both sides. They can see where Fnatic is coming from. They can push another tower now in the top side because, again, they have full vision. They can see Yellowstar.
Yellowstar is just going to be a threatening pose. We have to mention that Reckless finished his Infinity Edge a few minutes ago, is continuing to farm up with that Avarice Blade. Already earned 600 bonus gold. This is when he's going to start to shine once he can get that Shiv and Last Whisper completed.
And we'll need to see how well Origen can learn from their mistakes and read the game. If you're running a siege composition, you're naturally weak to flanks, so you need to ward your sides, make sure Yellowstar can't get behind you. Then we get stacked there, Yellowstar moving to the front. Now it's easy. If you can see him coming, you can poke him, you can chunk him, force him backwards.
And we can see the first upgrade of Cannon Barrage. That was Death's Daughter by Soaz, a little later than Oduwamne yesterday, but it allows OG to get the tower.
So I very quickly talked about this before with the Gangplank, what some of the Gangplank players likes to do now. Get that Death's Daughter very early because it's more damage than Fire at Will in the early stages until you get like the rank 3 ulti and the extra amount of hits really matter. This is better for early damage. That's why they go for it as the first upgrade.
Origen doing such good work with vision. You see all the deep wards. Fnatic are a little grouped up. They're focusing on the tower. Origen are the ones that are split and retreating. Reckless is trying to run him down with Whimsy. The explosive cask is going to mix them around. Barrel into barrel for a double barrel kill. Huni gets knocked down. Febiven and Reckless retreating. Reckless is low. Peke is going to start charging the piercing arrow. He's going to snipe Reckless, but not enough for the kill. Former teammates chasing them down. The piercing arrow from Peke penetrates Reckless's heart, and Fnatic lose 4.
Once again here, Origen are so strong in the mid game. This time around, Fnatic did not get the engage they were looking for. Mythy managed to flash away, but that's just the support. Rest of Origen comes in, they're starting the Baron. Febiven, it's time to be a hero.
Deficio, history repeats itself. At 22 minutes, 4 weeks ago, Fnatic overstayed a team fight, lost it and lost Baron, and found themselves 7,000 gold down. In the finals of the summer split, Origen hold a 7k gold lead, and this is why.
Yeah, let's watch that again. Fnatic, they force open mid lane very hard because they know they've lost complete control of the Baron vision. But this beautiful explosive cast into combo Phosphorus Bomb on Huni one-shots him. Now Yellowstar trying to peel, but there's no damage follow-up. And then Soaz flanks. He forces Reckless to jump out and flash defensively. Still snipes the Rainover down. Lose my words here. And then Soaz somehow stays alive. And that's really weird. He got knocked out there or flashed out, and he managed to stay alive, and then that's enough damage to take down the Baron eventually.
Well, let's look at these two compositions and how they want to play out a team fight. We talked about it again, Fnatic. If they can flank and get to the backline of Origen, the Corki, the Varus, and almost one-shot them, then they won't have the same amount of damage if you compare the two backlines at this point in the game. So we saw that fight. It was on to Mythy. Nielsen started to then manage to jump away, and there was no follow-up. Yellowstar wasn't there, and then Origen will take the fight. So now he's just going to knock up Amazing. Not going to do a whole lot. This mid lane tower is going down.
It is down indeed. Here comes Peke for more poke. Fnatic have lost their 7th tower. They had a 21-game winning streak, and this might be the one that ends that. An inhibitor is going down, and Origen in the finals, a team that so many people had counted out, have got a massive lead in the first game of this best of 5.
Fnatic, they haven't lost a single game this split, so how will they bounce back from a potential loss? Will it shake them, or will say, okay, next time it will be better. You know, how they will gonna adapt. They really need to work on adapting to this Gangplank pick, because these barrels and these ultimates from Soaz are doing so much work, combined with just the peel from Miffy on that Braum.
Just look how he's chaining the barrels when the team moves in to hit the tower. So suddenly Fnatic, they have to step back, because if you move into the barrel and get the crit in your face, well, you can't fight anyway. So by them moving away from it, it opens up for the carries to hit the tower, and suddenly there's nothing Fnatic can do.
For Fnatic, they tried it to defend, but look at those chains. Bebevin and Huni, amazing rolls of barrels. Soaz blows his barrels up, and they're gonna knock Fnatic out of the air with a barrel roll of destiny. Another inhibitor being focused down. Origen at 25 minutes are using the poke and the Baron empowered minions to shut Fnatic down. Inhibitor number 2 will fall shortly, and for Origen, the safe calls to back away and spend that gold. A lot of money in their back pockets.
And this all goes down to the early game, the early levels. Even Fnatic was so sure that Origen was going to take the 2v2 in bot lane, 1v1 top lane, got surprised. We're one move behind, and for the first time this split, teams didn't make a follow-up mistake against Fnatic when they get ahead. Origen played out the early to mid game beautifully. Couple small mistakes, but Peke, it took him 3 repetitive ganks to finally get him, and even then they couldn't capitalize on when he was dead. He managed to stay alive long enough for his team to start grouping, to start sieging, taking game 1.
Just a very greedy start from Huni, sitting in that lane, expecting the 1v1, setting himself and the rest of his team behind in that swap. And of course, Origen, full credit to them using that advantage. Soaz has been so far ahead of Huni all game long, and then we can talk about, oh, Lulu doesn't need the same amount of farm. No, but you need to shut down the Gangplank from getting that farm. Otherwise, he will get to his late game point, Vintage, Trinity Force, and then he really starts killing your team.
You mean letting your opponent's top lane get twice the farm of your own top laner, averaging 10 per minute, and then seeing how Soaz is using his barrel mechanics so effectively? I'm going to take a look at Cannon Barrage. Has been upgraded now to fire at will, and that is in fact 3 minutes earlier than we saw yesterday from Odoamne as well.
The main thing we have seen for Soaz with the barrels has been zoning more than necessarily dealing damage. We haven't seen him like chain the barrels and hit the backline of Fnatic more than maybe once. It's more just the way he's setting them up when they're sieging. The threat of his ulti and then the barrels coming in is enough to push Fnatic off, and that's a free tower.
All right, Fnatic know what's coming. They know there's going to be siege on the bot lane, so they're posturing for a potential flank. They want to get Origen before they're set up perfectly for that siege. So side vision, flank vision will be very important. That's what Miffy's doing right now, warding over the wall. They spot Yellowstar and Reignover. That buys them time again. Now Reignover and Yellowstar will have to get creative. Look for Flash Pulverize, Flash Cocoon. Fnatic will want to force something before they inevitably get sieged off this tower.
So we have the ban of command from Miffy, one of the supports who introduced it here in Europe, obviously to empower the push even more. Meanwhile, Soaz is killing a few minions very, very quickly and applying a bit of pressure on the top side. Fnatic, time is running out.
For Origen, time is just starting. If they beat Fnatic, they will take the #1 seed in the World Championships for Europe. And this may be the start of that push. Soaz is on the Nexus turret. Febevin and Huni have been pulled away to try and deal with one pirate. He's got a tower. Soaz is looking for another tower. He's got some minions to deal with first. The Cannon Barrage is going down, and the rest of Origen, they've been engaged on. Yellowstar's looking for the fight. They've got Miffy, but he's not a damage dealer. That's an aggressive rocket jump forward. Soaz has the help of the minions. Origen are on to the Nexus. Oh, see, Soaz forced away. Fnatic are going to try dig deep and try to protect their base.
But he's pulling all of Fnatic back to the Nexus so Nils can take down the last outer turret. Origen, they are still in full control.
Origen is beautifully dancing around the lack of engage of Fnatic, backdooring their former teammates with Soaz right here. Third inhibitor falls, Nexus is exposed. How long will it take?
Not that long, Crepo. Fnatic are trying to wave clear this out, and maybe a few minutes of life remain. Origen have peeled back and have played a near flawless game to push Fnatic into their Nexus.
I love to watch Soaz on a pick where he can be annoying. As annoying as possible, where he can split push, where he can move behind enemy lines and kill everyone 1 versus 1. Gangplank is perfect for him. Both him and Xpeke are 2 of the players in Europe who's the best at basically playing solo.
Yep.
Always setting up these plays for themselves. So the fact that Gangplank is now in the mix means both teams, we know Huni has been playing it a lot as well, will suddenly have to either first pick it or ban it.
And that playstyle also reflects in the builds of the remaining teammates. Niels, for example, went for the Bloodthirster second after Triforce because he knows he doesn't need more damage. All he needs to do is clean up, add some pressure, poke and siege, and just stay alive somehow if inevitably he does get flashed on. That was Fnatic's Hail Mary right there. Q flash from Yellowstar, but it wasn't enough. All they had to do was sacrifice Mithy, wait for the split push. They traded support for 2 Nexus towers. Pretty sure Quickshot would take that one.
And talking about the damage part here, what is Reynova doing? Rune Glaive, Hourglass on Elise. I mean, come on, you don't have to be an AP carry. Go for Cinderhole, get a Locket early on, or at least get some tanky stats for yourself. Locket probably not the most effective in this case, but there's at least some magic damage. But tank Elise is a lot better because you already have enough early game power just with your very, very strong base damage. You're now trying to be basically an assassin, yet there's no way for you to ever get in there and deal the damage. So I really disagree with his build in this game here.
2 Barons secured for Origen. Super minions in the bottom lane, and they're 1.5 minutes away from a potential aspect if they want that as well. For Origen, they're going to set themselves up for the final push very, very shortly.
Yeah, and these tempered slow pushes, making sure every minion wave enters the base, making it nigh impossible for the Fnatic to flank. You could look at Yellowstar. He's hiding around the walls. He wants to catch somebody off guard, get sped up, going for the combo here, but misses because Origen could just sidestep, re-engage.
But look at the barrel! Fnatic have lost one, they've lost their captain, even through the unbreakable will. Origen are going to push forward. The Chain of Corruption doesn't connect, but it didn't need to because Niels has got himself another kill. Origen are pushing into the Nexus Toast for Fnatic in a 2v5. It's simply not going to happen. For the first time in 3 months, 12 weeks, 6 patches, one team added 1 loss to Fnatic's roster, and it's Origen in the finals.
Can we just praise Origen for that pick and ban phase? Such a smart setup with Varus as the last pick. They had all the combinations to build a great poke comp. Braum was there as well to stop some of the wave clear coming in to protect his carries. And we just saw them here. There were no answers for Fnatic. Either you flank with your Alistar, if that is spotted, done.
Yeah, Fnatic has been fantastic throughout this year, just playing these low engaged but very high zone control type of composition. Then they steadily get a lead with better rotations, with better map play. But now they found themselves behind, and the very thing that made them excel in the league so far just not allow them to have a comeback mechanic. All they had was Flash Cocoon and Yellowstar flanking, and eventually Origen, they found out, they knew, okay, if Yellowstar can't get behind us, if his Flash is on cooldown, that limits almost all the engage potential, and then we just siege. And beautiful split push from Soaz. That man, yeah, he carried the hell out of that game.
Flank is OP.
He did, but not only the pick and ban, from the minute 1 of execution, it was Origen that started the lane stop. They caught Fnatic off guard. Fnatic tried multiple tower dives that failed. That's not something we hear very often. Origen had the first defeat to Fnatic in summer. I'd love to hear what our analysts have to say because they were all very much on the Fnatic hype train.
Well, thank you very much, Trevor. Yeah, 3-0 for Fnatic, 3-0 for Fnatic, 3-0 for Fnatic. Definitely not Origen dismantling them in that first game.
I've never been so happy to be wrong.
Yeah.
Because that was awesome to watch from Origen's point of view. They made a lot of changes coming into this game when it came to how they played the game, their picks and bans. That was growth from Origen rather than Fnatic just giving a game away. I'm actually so super happy because we could have potentially a 5-game final on our hands.
I feel when it comes to the pick and ban, I feel like Fnatic kind of set themselves up to be very, very weak against the poke composition. Victor is a champion that has like okay matchups against everything, but the Varus does fine against it, and there was a lack of engage, and you had to do something very, very beautiful to create anything that Yellowstar did in the middle of the game. But I think the pick and ban was the biggest like fault that Fnatic did in this game.
Well, I don't know. The pick and ban, I think, could go both ways. I can really see both sides doing well, but once Origen got the lead, and the one time they make a mistake mid lane, they never made it again. They never really let Yellowstar get that flank like the Fisher was saying. They always warded up, and they basically, yeah, never let Fnatic come back because of the way they played. So I think pick and ban was pretty big. Gangplank is annoying as hell.
Yeah.
But I still think we got a really good series coming up still.
Yeah, for sure. I think like Gangplank is going to define this series. For sure. I don't think there's any like hard counter to it. It's kind of hard to stop it from farming because it's always going to farm. Really good in 1v2 as well. And that in mind, I think Gangplank is going to define this entire series. Maybe it's going to be banned every single game.
You say it's easy to get farm, but again, it's a big change from Origen. I spoke about it before the first game, where normally they don't give Soaz that farm. They don't give him that experience. This time, they give Soaz everything, and he takes everything away from Fnatic. So good adaptations in the lane swap.
Yeah, looking at that though, at the lane swap, usually, even when that happens, even when you guys have gotten a big lead against him, OG in the past has gotten a big lead against him. Fnatic fights their way back. So what did they not do well that they usually do in Fnatic?
Well, I think something that they really didn't expect, I guess, is when they pick a support top against a carry top. What they did in the 2v1 was give all this farm onto Tristana. They kept funneling and siphoning all the XP from the top laner to the AD carry. And this works fine, but when you're playing against a carry top on the other side, that carry top eventually will just be able to 1v1 the other top. So now the top, from the initial siphoning of resources, now we can never come back in the game. He was like 30 CS down, 40, 50, 60. So if it was like carry top versus carry top, maybe I can see it. But as soon as they put this strong Gangplank pick in there, you can't really just give him farm over the other top laner because he'll never come back from that.
For sure. My biggest issue was, imagine if they picked, for example, Fizz top lane instead of the Lulu. That is something that can contest the wave against GP very, very well and can actually scale into that matchup very well. And I feel like they had weaker matchup all over the place. They had the weaker composition. That's why I put most of the blame on the pick and banning.
Oh, I can see that. I mean, yeah, if you think about it, if you see a Lulu kind of underfarmed, you're just going to push the entire map. You don't really care. If you see a Fizz, maybe he's underfarmed, but you still have to consider his damage. Lulu, you can almost ride off the second she falls behind.
That might be an adaptation coming out of Fnatic. With that, Lulu underfarmed, GP very much farmed, Tristana ramping up. For me, the moment Xpeke got caught in the mid lane, I actually thought this is one of those moments that Fnatic can absolutely capitalize on and maybe would. But let's pull up the replay, because right after that, OG said no when Fnatic aggressed on them again. I think Fnatic maybe went a little too fast here, we can get some kills out of here and turn it back in our favor, but so good coming out of OG to fight back in that one.
It's I've been giving Xpeke a lot of flack, but look at his position. He's firing so many Qs all over the place. Everyone's just dropping on Fnatic.
And the key thing is he's hitting so many Qs. And not only is he hitting one person, every skill shot that Origen seemed to throw out in this first game hit multiple people every time they were about to go to an objective. Just the poke coming out from Origen was way better than I've seen them play all split long.
Xpeke in playoffs.
Xpeke in playoffs.
Xpeke in playoffs, and Soaz as well, as you said, on that Gangplank. But we know, as Officio said, he plays best when he can be really, really annoying. It definitely showed in this one. Though, Fnatic, their very first loss in a long time. We actually have a tweet from someone at home who wanted to ask the desk from @LyricWikiChris. Do you think Fnatic would profit more from a loss than from a win regarding their mindset for Worlds? This is so incredibly interesting because we haven't seen this yet in the summer split. How do you think it will affect them?
I don't know, man. I love losses. Obviously, you guys know that from my professional career. But for a loss for Fnatic, they've shown they're mentally resilient. So I think this is actually really, really strong for them as a team. They're going to know exactly was it the strategy that was the problem? Was it communication? What actually happened that game? It's no longer oh, we won, but we could do this better. It's going to be oh, wait, this is just wrong. We can never do it again. So I think it's really big stepping stone for them.
I feel like Fnatic, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, that they have found this way to improve regardless of if they lose or win. I think this game was more about hiding their cards more than anything else.
I think one other thing to keep in mind, although Fnatic themselves have said the streak didn't really matter to them, it's a little bit of pressure release now. Because you've not got that, oh man, if we lose, that's our streak gone. It's gone. No more chance to stay undefeated, so maybe we'll see them relax a touch. I still think, though, the pressure is on with that spot at Worlds.
Yeah, the pressure is on also for Reckless, who's playing here on his home turf. He probably will feel like he didn't put his stamp on that first game, so he'll be looking to fight back. We need to step away as the teams regroup for Game 2 of the Summer Finals. And as we go, Reckless tells us how there's no room for error in this decisive series against Origen.
We have been the team to beat during the whole split, and therefore I wouldn't expect anything else than them taking a lot of notes during the LCS games and even the practices we had in our semifinal now. It's not going to be as easy or as solid as we've had it before. I think a lot of the weaknesses we have showcased that hadn't been enough punished is going to be punished against Origen.